Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the discussion lounge. Really excited today. We have wonderful guests, three wonderful guests here. People who are coming out of the city of Cudahy and the surrounding areas, who are coming together, banding together, almost like the Avengers are doing, right? And they're coming together to save the city of Cudahy and make sure that people do not take advantage of its residents and any of the stuff they're trying to do there. So thank you so much, Ilse, Devina, Star. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Hector, as always, the master of philosophy, is here with us. Gio couldn't join us today, but that's okay. He did send me some of his questions for me to ask you, lovely ladies, so that way he can get his questions answered, and maybe we can broaden the conversation as well. So I'm gonna start with Tavina, because Tavina, I did reach out to you. Well, you reached out to me when we were podcasting with the ex-mayor of Cudahy. So I thought it would be a great idea to have you on. And you sent me some paperwork. You sent me not paperwork, but some links about what you have been up to with this group. So I want to leave it up to you and let us know. Tell us about the Cudahy Alliance for Justice and what's going on.
Hi, everybody. Some of you guys, if you're watching this, you know me. I've lived in Cudahy almost all my life. I went to Elizabeth. It's my alumni shirt. Um, we do a lot in the city of Cudahy. But this particular group, Cudahy Alliance for Justice, is an environmental justice group. And what we've been doing is fighting environmental injustices. Many of you guys know the city of Cudahy has many environmental injustices. Just, Park Avenue School, the Delta Airlines dumping fuel on Park Avenue School, aside from the stuff that was already going on there, which was I forget what it was, seeping up through the soil. And then the biggest one that we're tackling right now is KIPP, which is the knowledge is power something, KIPP
Program.
organization program. There you go. It's a corporate charter school. They bought the land on Olive and well, it's right across the street from Lugo Park. So Olive and Otis, around that area. They bought the land there. They're planning to make a huge school there, which is across the street from both a park and another school, Teresa Hughes, which my daughter goes to and Star's children go to. Um, and Teresa Hughes has been there for many, many years. So the bad thing about that is that they're trying to build on toxic land. So that land used to be used for metal. They had a garage there. They had a smog check there. Their phase 1 and phase 2 reports said themselves that they're toxic and they're trying to build there. So obviously, we already know what happened to Park Avenue students and teachers and staff, from whatever was seeping up through their soil. And we don't want that to happen again to our kids or any member of our community. And obviously, there's going to be members from other communities coming to that school also. So we don't want anything happen to anybody there. So we're fighting against that.
Awesome. And I want to swing it over to Star. How did you hear about this group when it all was getting off the ground, or were you on the ground floor? You heard about it and then you joined. How did you come across the Cudahy Alliance for Justice?
I was on the ground floor running with them. It started, we started because KIPP was trying to co-locate at Teresa Hughes. So when a school co-locates on another one, they pretty much take up classroom spaces that they consider empty, which really are not empty. They just don't have a teacher with a roster, with a carrying roster assigned to them. But the classrooms that were being, those empty classrooms were being used like for art, music, visual arts, dance, and for our children with special needs to get like orthopedic therapy, speech therapy, and that was going to be taken away. So that's how we started off the ground with this. And then we didn't know that the plan that KIPP had was co-locate at Hughes for a minute. Meanwhile, they bought this property and build over there, and then they were just going to hop over and take their students on. And that's when we started. We got the phase 1 report saying that the toxins are 7 times legal amount, and things just started happening. Like the mud just started flowing pretty much,
Okay,
and we just
okay.
took it from there.
Okay, so you all saw a problem and you decided to attack it all. Basically, head first. And so I'll swing it over to Ilse. Ilse, what kind of progress has been made now that the alliance has been made? You guys are looking for support and getting support. That the word is getting out. Where is the Cudahy Justice Alliance now with the issues that are happening?
Yeah, thank you for having us on. Yeah, my name is Ilse Escobar. I'm a union organizer with United Teachers Los Angeles, UTLA. In my day job, I work on special education issues, especially regarding funding for students with special needs. It's never been funded properly by the federal government to our districts ever. There's been a promise to fund those programs, but they haven't been fully funded. And in this work, I've been working in the union UTLA for 5 years. I've also just met so many parents and teachers. And the very first thing that I was pulled to work on was charter school issues. So when I first started this job 5 years ago, my main job was let's figure out what are the main issues happening in the community with parents and teachers where we can both align. Like, what are the things happening? Then there's so many. They start always with funding. Well, one of those was charter schools growing at a rapid rate, and people telling me when I started my job, just outsiders, parents love charter schools. You're just going to find that out for yourself. Just go and see. And what I actually found was like many different types of opinions on charter schools, many different types, good, bad, very bad, just like there are with any school. But what I had seen happen was that the charter school reform movement, which is a neoliberal movement, which is supported by neoliberals like Obama and Arnie Duncan, and way back, even Democrats support charter schools. They support the funneling of public funds to private entities. Even these schools, they were not necessarily performing better than the regular school down the street. Regular in terms of like, these are magnificent schools in many cases, are traditional public schools. So the way that, but the charter school reform was winning on marketing their schools. And we all know that. We see the fancy buildings in the hood, we see them. We know how they recruit. Everybody knows how they recruit in the hood. They'll offer you tablets, they'll be offering gift cards. And while that's not, I mean, how ethical that is, I don't think that's what I'm giving a judgment on. I'm just saying, like, were these schools much better? And so the next thing that I saw, and that I've seen way too much in the past 5 years, where we're at with KIPP now in the city of Cudahy, after many battles against KIPP, one of the things that we're seeing is that KIPP is trying to grow as fast as they can, because that's what a business model usually tells you to do. Grow, grow, grow. That's a very capitalist model, right? So then if that's the model that KIPP is using, where we're seeing that because we fought them in East LA, in Boyle Heights, that's where I started a lot of working with a lot of parents on this. And now it's Southeast LA. Anywhere where we have low income immigrant families and Black families, KIPP is going to be there to sell their product, to say, we are a better school. And what I've been able to see is that is the end goal, to grow their schools, not necessarily to provide the best education. So that's so where we're at now is we're challenging this in the city of Cudahy. It's very different than anywhere else because it has its own city council, its own codes, its own zoning. And so we as a community have had to learn all of that up, and we're up against KIPP's well-resourced attorneys. And you see us, we're like regular people. We're selling pupusas to pay for these legal fees. That's what we're doing right now. That's where we're at. So I'm gonna stop there. I don't know if there's questions about sort of what us three laid out right now.
No, 100%. I understand. And also just what you laid out as far as the business model, right? Like better numbers than last year or else this was a failure, right? That's the capitalist movement, right? So if our schools are running like that, that's definitely something we do not want because, what we want is for this education to, to actually seep into these kids and, for them not just to be numbers and statistics, right? That you're making money off of. I'm going to swing it over to Hector. Hector, you went to ELC with me. We all this stuff is definitely close to us, and this is why I wanted to do this episode. Do you have any questions for the Cudahy Justice Alliance here?
Yes, I have a few questions, and I think they don't pertain to anything that has been talked about yet. But I'll pretty much like get the ball rolling on that. But first, I do want to say that I want to applaud the three of you for doing what you do, because being a longtime resident of Cudahy, not anymore. I have moved out recently, a couple of years back, but most of my life I spent it there. And there were many times where I doubted my community and I doubted the people that lived there. And to see you guys keep pushing that envelope and keep pushing that and saying that, like, no, we support the people here, and, you just give everyone hope. This is very important, I think, for now and for the future. So again, I applaud the three of you for that. And also, I want to echo a couple of points that the three of you brought up, not necessarily in any order, but I did have them written down just so we could get to it. I do have some statistics on KIPP, the school, because I didn't know much about them. I knew that charter schools were like a hot thing in the past couple of years and that they are growing rapidly, as mentioned before. Just recently, I just Googled KIPP, right, a couple of days ago, and the first three articles were on expansion plans. They're looking to expand in Detroit, Michigan, Bronx, New York, Newark, New Jersey, so the East Coast mainly, right? And also their statistics in terms of like, trying to push, that vision that they're a lot better or they outperform their counterpart public schools nearby. So according to their statistics, right, or independent studies actually, so KIPP students outperform their counterpart in traditional public schools. That's one. New students tend to improve their grades when coming from a public school. That's number two. And more students end up graduating high school, going to college, and earning a degree than those from public schools. So the percentage as of 2017 is 82% of KIPP students go on to college. 42 states participate in charter schools. And as you guys mentioned before, politicians from the whole spectrum, right, from the left to the right, Barack Obama, Mitt Romney, Bush Jr., even Donald Trump, it don't matter, even Bernie Sanders, right, like support charter schools. So we start to beg the question, like, what's going on here, right? One thing about those statistics, though, is important to note that it's a very small amount of students that were surveyed, right? So it doesn't represent the entirety of every single charter school. So that's when we start like kind of like nitpicking at like, wait, what's going on here? And I know for a fact that if you're not performing well, they could possibly and have kicked you out, right? So my first question is, where do you guys stand on charter schools in general?
I'll go. We do not knock all charter schools. It's insane to say all charter schools are bad. That's just insane. Some states do need charter schools because of a lot of different reasons, and not all charter schools are bad. But when it's a corporate charter like KIPP, corporate being the operative word, that's where we have a problem, because corporate charter schools are run differently, way differently. The rules are different. They say they run on a lottery system. They can say that all they want, but they can't prove that that's really true. And we know that they only take the highest students, and that's another problem. The biggest problem for charter schools is that their board is not publicly voted for. So they're not publicly run. They could choose whoever my primo from over here, my big executive from over here, and we want a board of nothing but business people so that we get the most money out of the state and the least amount of resources for the students. And that's where the problems come. That's why you see article after article, embezzlement, stealing money, all that stuff from charter schools is because of that. The board, they don't have to, they're not they don't have to come to the public and explain themselves. They're not accountable. And that's the biggest problem for charter schools, in my opinion.
Yeah, Star or Ilse, would you like to add any to any of that?
Although I think one of the good points that Hector brought up was they can get rid of students at any point, and that is very true. Um, they'll ask for grades, just kind of like a prerequisite, like we just kind of get a feel. If your child has a high level, it's all of a sudden there's all this space for your child. If your child shows not performing too well, that's when we get put on this lottery system. Another thing is sped. We've seen them time after time, and we have proof of this. On their town halls, I've questioned personally, like, oh, I have a child with special needs. Will you take them? Sure, we welcome all. We're all inclusive. This town hall is over. You go to them and you show the paperwork. You show the IEP, which is the student's individualized educational program, and all of a sudden, it's a big fat no. And we've had emails of them replying to parents saying, we don't take your type of child.
Got it. Okay.
So they sell one thing to the public, and once you get there, and it's a whole nother different entity with them.
Right. Okay. Ilse?
Yeah, I would say there's like a few more statistics to keep in mind. First, there's been a proven under enrollment of students with disabilities in charter schools, meaning that their business model relies. So the statistics you read, Hector, like they sound great, but actually and amongst many things, right? It wasn't probably, I don't know what kind of like the numbers that you said, maybe they were low in terms of like a sample size, but one thing for sure is we have numbers that say that charter schools don't take the most severe students with special needs, and if they do, they may be transitioned out, and we have stories of parents having their kids transitioned out. So you can't, on paper it doesn't say expelled, on paper it doesn't say any removed, nothing like that. It just says we don't have the services that your student needs, you should go somewhere else. And there's a people know about this revolving door of students coming back to the regular school down the street and transitioning out of the charter school right around the time that testing happens. So standardized testing. So that and these are not anecdotal. Again, we have reports that say that charter schools under enroll students with special needs, especially the most severe needs. Meaning that in our schools, when we report numbers, we have everything, the whole spectrum, because we have to take everybody. We cannot pick and choose which students we provide an education for in our public schools. Additionally, some additional numbers for you all. We also have a report that says that because the charter school movement is growing so fast in Los Angeles, it's now causing us, there's a lot of oversight now, like personnel, like LAUSD money has now, instead of going to resources for the kids that need it, like the two moms here, I know that they would much appreciate it if this money came to the classroom, but instead it's going to charter oversight, meaning managing all of these new charter schools coming up, having a whole department personnel to serve, a whole charter division to serve the charter school expansion, growth, and oversight. And the district has to have it and has to provide them resources. So in one given year, LAUSD lost more than $500 million to charter school growth, just on that money that could have gone to schools. So those are additional statistics. And at the end of the day, no matter how we cut it, I think let's lift up Tavina's point that maybe one charter school is doing better, but that the trend isn't that they're all better, because there's so many types of them. KIPP is just one of them. The actors are so many, just like there are different there's Starbucks, Coffee Bean, etc., McDonald's, wherever. In the same way, there are that many types of charter schools, and we can't make a judgment on all of them. But the trend is that they're usually not necessarily that much better than ours. In some cases, they are. It depends, and or they're the same.
Yeah, and also too, as this conversation was started, this is an environmental thing, right? So not only are our charter schools a little sketch, but the one we're talking about is trying to build on unsafe, land. So obviously this corporation is garbage, right? So I want to take it to the next thing, which is the battle that was going on within the city, right? Because we have council members that have now flipped their vote. At first they were against this, now they're for it. These are the people that are making the decisions for the city, and they're not doing due diligence, and they're not doing the proper research to make sure that this is being done safely. Tavina, can you talk about that and what's going on with the city council members?
Yeah, for sure. KIPP went to the planning commission. Well, first it was approved by Sal Lopez, who is a project director for the city of Cudahy. They're he doesn't work for the actual city, but he's contracted out. And so they brought the KIPP plans after they bought the land, mind you. After they bought the land first, and then they came up with the plans. They sent it to the commission. So the planning commission all voted no, except for Gilbert Cuevas. He's the only one that voted yes. Everybody else voted no. So what KIPP did is they appealed it, and when they appeal it, it automatically goes to city council. So in city council, we already know that Jack Guerrero and Blanca Lozoya, because Blanca Lozoya is like Jack's puppet. Whatever he says, she says. It's very, very extremely rare when she goes against what he says. So we already knew those two people were going to vote yes, because Jack is a super charter school supporter, and especially for KIPP. He thinks KIPP is coming in here to save our people. That's what he thinks. It's so sickening. But so we already knew that those two people are gonna vote yes. Now, Elizabeth, which was our mayor at the time, Jose, which was our vice mayor, and then Chris Garcia at the time, who was a council member, we had it on pretty good authority that they would vote no. So then what happened was Jose was given legal counsel to recuse himself from the vote, because he works for LA Unified, and he has land by where they're going to build. Now, we don't know how true that part is, but legal counsel did advise him to recuse himself. So that's what he did. So that automatically takes him out of the vote. Now, then we had Elizabeth, who is against KIPP Charter, and Chris, who was supposedly also against KIPP Charter. So when the vote came down to the minute, they all voted yes except for Elizabeth, and she was the last person to vote, and her no was a very safe no, because it didn't matter if she voted yes or no. The yeses won already. So Chris totally flipped. He blamed it on legality. That's what a lot of council members, because this is also happening in Montebello Unified, which I work for, and they do the same thing. They use legality. Well, legally we can't vote no, or else they'll sue us. So that was their plan. They could not vote no, because they would get sued, which is super ironic, because now they're getting sued anyways by the constituents of Cudahy. So that's what happened there. That was the vote. And then, with it, just like kind of snowballed after that, because then we realized that Chris didn't even live in the city, so his vote shouldn't matter. That's fraud. It's a federal offense to say that you live in a city, vote there. That's voter fraud also. And then continue to vote for things that matter for our city, but it doesn't even matter for him, because he lives in Lawndale with his girlfriend. And if we were smart, we would have we would have listened to which, this is gonna sound horrible. The only good thing about Arthur Schaefer is that he proved that Chris was a fraud before we even acknowledged it. So, we tried to fight against that too, but at the time, Jackie Lacey was in his pocket, and they wouldn't really do anything about that. So, now we move on to the next level, and we're just trying to fight what we can fight.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as Chris Garcia goes, yeah, it had been a long time that people were aware, like now for a while now. And yeah, Arthur Schaefer, as god awful as that human being is, he did expose that Chris Garcia was working in the city of Cudahy while living in another city, and that for sure is a no go. That's no bueno, right? These are laws that we have in place for a reason, rules and regulations that are being broken by a guy who has even made it to become mayor, right? At one point, he was mayor of the city as well. So these are things that need to be checked, and I would forgive it all if he was doing a great job. To be honest, like all day, I would forgive it if you were doing your goddamn job. But when you're coming in here and you're an outsider and you're claiming that you want to do good things for the city, and you start flipping on them, all your stuff's gonna come out, and that's definitely something that needs to happen. Yeah, anyone working for the city of Cudahy should be living in the city of Cudahy, point blank, period, right? I want to kind of take it over to something else. The Delta situation, the Delta Airlines situation.
Hey, before you jump on there,
yeah, go ahead.
I have one question. Maybe I'm just thinking too much about this, but is there any revenue to be made for the city by this move, like the school move? Like,
Star, go ahead.
yeah.
That has been one of our, I think, biggest issues with city council is we know that KIPP is in their pocket, because there's no way that any human being is okay with saying yes to a school that's going to house 1,200 children. Children, we're talking about kids here. And this place, KIPP themselves gave city council their phase 1 and phase 2 that said this soil contains arsenic, lead, asbestos, and PCE at a level that is deathly. That's going to cause neurological damage, behavior, delays in growth, cognitive issues, cancer. And they're saying it's okay. Jack Guerrero himself has been on record saying this school is going to be great. He's been door knocking at our parents' houses, telling them that they should choose KIPP, and using not so kind language in regards to our teachers, specifically our teachers at Teresa Hughes, which are some amazing teachers that love these kids more than I've ever seen. I've been working for the district for 22 years, and I have never seen a group of staff in general that loves their kids more than the teachers at Hughes. Like, these little human beings are everything to them. And he's knocking doors saying, I'm not going to even repeat the word that he used because it's just not right. And when we questioned him about his answer was, KIPP is great because it's backed up by Netflix. That was his only answer. That's when we knew, honey buns, there's money in your bank account. Chris Garcia made it very obvious too. His bank account was going to ching, to ching, to ching. That's why it went from I'm voting against KIPP to I'm all for KIPP.
Yeah, and just for disclosure, since we're all sharing, when I was making content against Arthur Schaefer back in the day, my bank account was going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. So sorry, Chris, but if you would have stuck to your guns, man, I probably wouldn't have revealed that. But yeah, man, that guy's got money to give out for whatever nonsense he wants to spew out there, right? So that's just his thing. The only reason I did it was because I hated Arthur Schaefer, and if I could get paid to do it, I would do it. Right, so that's what I did. As far as there has to be money made. This is crazy. We're putting kids in a danger zone. There's gotta be money made, dude. That's the only thing that would cause these people, for Chris Garcia to vote on something on the same side as Jack Guerrero. Like, there's definitely money being put on these guys' pockets, man, and money talks, dude. These guys will be willing to break whatever law that they can. And as we saw it way before in Cudahy, right before Chris Markovich got put in, these guys were embezzling money, dude. These guys were over here, like flashing their guns and like acting like they were the mob. That's what we had before now, and now, we got younger, faces, but they're doing the same thing. So yeah, I want to bring it back if nobody has anything to add. Okay.
We've asked Jack Guerrero on
mhm.
many occasions if he's been paid, and he always avoids the question. But yet, when we have other types of questions, he breaks all the rules of city council, comes off his microphone, talks his shit. He's in our face, going hard at us. But every time we ask the question of how much money is in your bank account, all of a sudden he's deaf.
Yeah,
So that
and
answers the question.
for sure. And when we were digging on him before, we found out that he was part of a corporation called Grow Elect, right? That just grabbed a bunch of Hispanics that were interested in politics, but they wanted to swing them Republican, right? So he belongs to Grow Elect, and we saw him in videos promoting this company. So yeah, he's definitely a pawn. So yeah, I want to move it to the Delta situation because this is something that happened recently, and this is something that when people were talking about it, like someone like Eric, who's a big activist here in the city of Southgate, who has the Alivio open mic. He brought this to my attention, and I saw it on Facebook, and I told him, I'm like, hey man, Delta's not going to take responsibility for this. Like, there's no way. These companies, if they can get away with murder, they will. And them dumping fuel on a Hispanic community that no one's even heard of, good luck, right? So I want to know what's going on here, right? Because there is no way that it just baffles me that nothing has been done about fuel being dumped on a school. Like, it just baffles my mind, right? So I want to know where that's at.
Well, we kind of are in the dark about that also because the council hasn't updated the city on what's going on. I know for sure they're in a lawsuit. I know for sure Delta's gonna have to shell out money to a nonprofit for the city of Cudahy. I can't say how much or when it's gonna happen, but I know that they have to do that aside from the lawsuit. So everything's been pretty hush hush lately. We don't know much at all. They haven't brought it up, but we all know what happened. It just so happens, that it got on Park Avenue Elementary again, the second environmental injustice for that school. And I know teachers are suing, so they can't really talk about much because of the lawsuit. So we're kind of, we know as much as you do for right now.
Okay, interesting. All right, so then let's move it on to something else then. What has been like? I know you said that Jack Guerrero was knocking door to door, right? But I want to know, like, what other misinformation is being used to sway the residents of Cudahy, towards KIPP being something suitable or just okay to build on top of something that's not safe. Like, are the residents not aware? What's going on?
Part of it is that the residents are not aware. What Jack is doing is he's using old test scores and comparing them to KIPP and saying, like, oh my God, look at the test scores. Well, a test score doesn't define every child as an individual. Test scores define groups as a whole. So he's taking those test scores and saying, look, this, and his focus is Hughes. He's targeting Teresa Hughes because it's the school that's closest to the site. So he's walking around and saying, look, you're sending your child to this school with these test scores. Yes, because of COVID and everything that happened, our scores are not updated. So he's using old test scores, which, yes, they're not the best, but that doesn't mean that the school as a whole is failing. It just means that we have a lot of work to do in our community, and we're doing the work.
Mhm.
The work is being done, but he's not going to focus on that. He's just holding those test scores as his Bible. That's his sanctuary. That's what he's holding on to. You can't move him from there. And that's what he's showing the parents. And he's telling them, we're going to have this new shiny brand new toy in our community with the best of the best. Your kids are going to get the best education. This school is going to send your kids to college. With this school, your kids will be go to college. And then he shares his sad story that he is where he is, and he's has all these accolades, but he had to take the bus, guys. He had to hop on the bus and leave Cudahy to go to college. Well, sir, there are no colleges in Cudahy, so regardless, you have to jump on a bus, on a train, on a car, or something to go to university. But that's what he's telling our parents. Like, I don't want your kids to have to hop on a bus, on public transportation. It's dangerous just to get a better education. KIPP is the answer. KIPP is going to give them that better education. Look at me. Look where I graduated from. I'm sitting on city council. You want your kids to be like me. So please send them to KIPP and be done with public education. That's what he's holding on to. That's what he's saying. Our parents are getting a little more brave and are shutting doors in his face and telling him, you come back here, it's not going to be just a shut door. Like, we don't want you here. Take your crap somewhere else. But that's what he's holding on to, is test scores, old test scores. And like I said, test scores do not define schools at whole. As like it shows a whole as a school, but it doesn't define each student as an individual. And each student, at least at Teresa Hughes, I can speak for my school, each one of our students are making gains. Even if it's a 1%, 2%, it is a gain. None of them are going back. They're all going forward. But he's not going to share that information with them because he doesn't know the information. He's never put foot on Hughes. He's never asked how he can help. We've extended this invitation to all of city council. We have career day. What better than our kids to see our city council on campus, showing them what they can do. We've asked city council, send some of your custodial work that works in the city, security guards that work in the city. Let our kids see that this is their city. These are people that work in their city. And we get crickets. We don't even get a reply to an email.
That's really sad because I mean, I still keep in touch with some of the teachers at ELC, and even they're doing this where they're bringing in students that have made a career and all this, and have done pretty well for themselves. They come back and show the students like, hey, you can be something as well. And the fact that these council members can't even do that, that's really sad. That makes me pretty angry, to be honest. And yeah, unless KIPP is giving out cars when you graduate, everybody took a fucking bus or wherever the hell to whatever school. I went to ELAC, that's not right here. Hector went to Long Beach and then went all the way to San Jose. That's not anywhere around here. My brother went to UCLA, that's not anywhere around here. And none of us went to a charter school. So I don't know what he's trying to peddle, but it's nice to hear that some of the parents are starting to get it, and just telling this guy to get lost, because we all know that it's all lies, and we all have capable people that graduated from schools that were district. Tavina, go ahead.
And then another thing about, so not only is Jack peddling this bullshit, can we cuss on here?
Yeah, you can.
What KIPP's MO is why, if you think about it, why do they go into cities like Cudahy, like Boyle Heights, like Compton? Why do they go to inner city communities with high poverty levels, low income communities? Because they can brainwash the parents. And what they do is they build a beautiful school. Okay, so by ELAC, on right there across the street from the projects on Cesar Chavez, there's a beautiful KIPP school. I mean, it's gorgeous, right? This is what they do. They take their corporate money, they build a beautiful school, and that's how they lure in the people. And they tell them, oh, we have the best of everything. We have state-of-the-art buildings. We have this and this and this and that. But guess what? All your kids can't go there. And guess what? Once they're in that school, it's a whole different story. They exploit their teachers. Their teachers don't all have credentials. Don't let them fool you. Their teachers are overworked. The teachers, it's like a revolving door of teachers. We've spoken to many people who've worked for KIPP, and they told us inside stories about how overworked they are, underpaid. They don't offer union. They don't offer any of the stuff. And guess what? Including one of our council members, Daisy. Daisy. Her last name is
Lomeli.
Lomeli. There you go. It escaped me. She was a charter school teacher, not KIPP, but she works for a charter school, and then she now works for LA Unified. That's what happens. They go to charter schools because they have to. They have to get a job. They have to get experience, and then they leave the charter school sometimes in the middle of the year, and they go to bigger school district, just like LA Unified, Montebello Unified, whatever district is out there, because they get tenure, they get benefits, they get union, then that's what they want. And charter schools like KIPP, they don't do that. So they're not going to say all of these negative things that they're doing while inside. And the kids go to school for a long damn time when they're at KIPP. It's not like regular public school, even though they claim to be. And once your kid messes up, like we said, they could boot you out, and guess where they go? They go back to public school without the funding. And then our public schools are just expected to feed them and and educate them, when they have like such little resources that the charter school has already siphoned. So that's how they get these community members to send their their kids to school there, because they send them with a broken promise. And these people in our communities, and this might come out wrong, but we're so hungry and thirsty for something better that we see the facade and we think that this is better. And a lot of people they come from Mexico and Central America, and they don't know the difference, and they just see something pretty and they say, I want my kid to go to this beautiful school. Just that's what happens with name brand. I want my child to wear Nike, even though Nike is the same damn thing as Airwalks from Payless Shoes. You know what I mean? It's a rough comparison, but that's what it is. You're paying. They're advertising. They make commercials. Public schools don't do any of that. That's not part of the game. You could see on YouTube. I just saw one the other day for Pueblo Unido, which is what they're gonna build here in Cudahy. It's an advertisement, and it's just sick. It's sick, and that's how they advertise, and that's how they get their marketing across to our people.
Yeah, definitely. It's like calling Biden
Yeah,
progressive, right? Like, Hector, did you want to add something?
yeah, yeah. I'm very glad you brought up the name of this school that is not even going to be built because we're going to win. Pueblo Unido, right? Like one of the biggest things that I hated about Jack Guerrero, especially when he was talking to the people in the community and the meetings, he will always speak of the town as if it was a pueblo. He'll say, like, we can't let our pueblo like be ran like this. We can't let it like, break apart. But he'll always make sure to try to resonate with the residents by using that word. And when I saw that KIPP was going to use that same damn word, oh, it got me so heated. I was like, I see what I see, said the blind man. I read between the lines, right? Read between the lines. But yeah, once again, yeah. So it is a big. It's not a coincidence that they built on communities that are impoverished. Yeah, it's part of the game.
It's like Cory Booker speaking Spanish. It's like, bro, I don't care if you speak Spanish, dude. Like, I need you to do stuff. I need you to go to work.
But this is why they use. If you look at all of KIPP schools around here, they're all Spanish language. Pueblo Unido, Comienza.
Yeah.
I mean, all Spanish languages. And guess what? The people that are running them, they're nothing of our heritage. They're all white corporate people. And it's sick. It's like, and when they market, they put the most brown people. I don't care what color brown you are. If you're black, brown, if you're brown Mexican, if you're brown Indian, they put those people up there to show the face. We are, diverse. but in reality, they're not diverse.
Yeah, 100%. Star, did you want to jump in? I thought I saw you maybe wanting to jump in.
I'm just, you know, same thing. Their commercials, or when they're doing their town hall meetings, they push a lot their morning juntas. They start their day with the morning junta, and it bugs me. It bugs me because you're gonna say the morning meeting, or you're gonna say juntas mañaneras or juntas de la mañana or something, but don't try and make it seem like we're including our brown people when the person behind the camera are speaking can't even speak the language,
Yeah, it's
and they like
patronizing as hell.
it, it's like, come on. Another thing is, when they came to sell KIPP Pueblo Unido to Cudahy, it was, this is our community. It's all about our community. Homegirl, what community? I haven't seen you one day in this community. I haven't seen you not one time on this city council. You came on city council the day of the vote, and we haven't seen you there ever since. If this was your community, you should be at every single one of these city council meetings, seeing what's going on in this community that you're gonna have a school on, where your students, the students that are gonna bring money to your bank account, because of these students, you're gonna have a monthly check. If you really care so much about this community you're talking about, you need to be in these city councils. You need to be walking these streets to see what these kids need, what they really need, not what you are pretending to know what they need. And I think that's one of my biggest gripes with KIPP is, stop pretending to know our people. You know nothing about our people except that you want to use them to your own benefit. And sorry, but my kids are not here. Now, when I say my kids, I mean like all the kids of Cudahy are my kids, and I'd be damned if I'm gonna let you use my kids and not fight this fight till the end.
Yeah, 100%. And I've always felt like that. Like, just in politics in general, they do it, and it's done all the time. And to me, it's just gross. It's like, dude, like, okay, like, you spent maybe an hour, like, practicing one sentence in Spanish, and I'm supposed to vote for you. Like, nah, man, that's not how it works. And if anything, any politician that does that is an automatic no vote. Thank you very much for showing your colors. Get the fuck out of my TV. Thank you so much. And that's the way it goes, and some people need to get hip to that, right? Because people like definitely someone like my mom would see that and be like, oh, he knows a little bit of Spanish, all right. And to me, it's like, no, that's the game, ma. you know I want to swing it over now to, because we've been talking for 45 minutes. It's been amazing. It's just so much information, so much to learn. I want to go to a question that came from Gio real quick. Let me pull it up and read it real fast here. So Gio wanted to say, he says, as a resident of the Inland Empire, we're constantly plagued with terrible air quality. The region is shaped like a valley, and jobs here are predominantly heavy industry and logistics, which exacerbates the situation. In Los Angeles County region, do you know if the air quality has gotten any better or worse, or stayed the same in recent years? And what regulatory body can citizens engage with to enact environmental regulations in Southern California? Also, what direct action, like protests, boycotts, or occupations, can citizens take to influence the public and government to enact change? So yeah, that was the question that Gio had. Ilse, you've kind of been a little quiet for a little bit. Let's go to you and see if you have anything to say.
Just because these women are just so amazing. Let's give them the floor. That's why. So a couple things. So one of the things that we probably should make sure to bring home is the fact that at the end of the day, the city council cannot vote against a school per se. Like they actually, that authority is by LAUSD. The LAUSD approved the petition for KIPP Pueblo Unido to exist, and all of KIPP schools actually within LAUSD. What the city council can do, though, is make sure that the land is clean and that we have the proper reports, which is not exactly what we got. What we have are independent reports from KIPP that are not as good as what we would get from something like CEQA, which is the California Environmental Quality Act, or better. We could even get better, meaning like we could get the best test done to see if this site can be what are the toxins? What are they? Star named some of them, but there were not enough tests. They didn't even test for asbestos. So let's get the test done and let's see what cleanup needs to happen. And that's what our suit is currently about. There are other CEQA issues across this inside Gabriel Valley. I don't know if y'all heard, in South Pasadena, another group is suing their city. I think their city and their company that's trying to build condos on CEQA issues too. And more specifically on the very same thing that we're saying here, is that city council overstepped their power, designating this as what's called a ministerial project, which is a legal term, which is zoning stuff, meaning that it didn't have to have, it's like a loophole so that it doesn't have to have all the restrictions. Same thing happening in South Pasadena, a lawsuit happening over there too. The problem here that we're seeing is that there should not, the government cannot, and KIPP and all the local councils, they should not rely on people suing them to do the right thing. We don't have the fund. Oh, and who are the only people that can sue? People with money, right? And who can fight off lawsuits? People with money. So this justice shouldn't happen for people with money. But that's sort of what we're seeing now. California, what is it? Communities for a Better Environment in the area is also like doing work around CEQA, because these are really big issues, given that the fact that one of the biggest things that we are throwing away and hurting as a society is Mother Earth. And these companies are killing her from like burning of fossil fuels, all the way down to how we as a community live in the worst off environmental areas. We have high rates of asthma, of neurological damage. So at the end of the day, our babies born have so many issues and different array of being like on, what we call them, differently abled. People would sometimes say with disabilities, depending on sort of what conversation you're in, with special needs. And this is not on accident. It's in areas like ours that are heavily contaminated. So what we're trying to stop here is that, right? So that's just trying to bring it back to that. It's very hard to have grassroots work around this. I would say it's really difficult even for us as CAJ, CAJ, Cudahy Alliance for Justice, because people think we're just, oh, y'all are just against charter schools. And I was like, if we bring it back to the actual issue, it is an environmental issue happening here. That's what we're specifically fighting on. It just so happens to involve the privatization movement getting involved now in the Southeast. And the Southeast has had so many, from the Delta fuel dump to Park Avenue also being contaminated. So the Southeast has so many Southeast LA has so many issues in the environment. We expect better from anyone trying to build a school. And how to get involved. We're only one of the groups that formed. Part of getting involved for ourselves is really examining why we live in very environmentally hazardous, toxic communities, why we can get apartments and houses over here, and why that's not the case in other places, and why our kids it's okay for our kids to be exposed to toxins, but not other people's kids. Our kids can go to schools with toxins, and that's sort of what's been the status quo, and that's what we're trying to fight.
Real quick, Davina, before I go to you, I think it's a wonderful point that, we shouldn't be suing people for them to motivate them to do their job. And not only that, a lot of misinformation comes from like a big corporation saying, oh, well, we got sued for this and this and that, but we ended up winning that lawsuit. No, you tied it up in litigation because you guys have money. Right, so that's really what's going down. You didn't win a lawsuit. You tied it up in litigation, and the other party just couldn't pursue it anymore. Right. So yeah, that's awesome. That's definitely what's going on, and that needs to be broken down as well. Davina, go ahead.
I just wanted to answer Gio's other part of the question about how our air quality is. I don't know too much about the air quality, but that's another thing that we're very worried about with the building of KIPP, if that happens, because just think about it. Cudahy is a very small, very dense city with already 5 different elementary schools. If you come down Otis at 3 or 4, it's ridiculous. In the mornings, it's ridiculous. Can you imagine? They're shooting to have 1,000 students. Can you imagine that many cars coming in and out of Cudahy every single day, more than there already are? The air quality is gonna suck, and there's a park, and then to the side there's residents, and then there's another school. Like, it's horrible. Like, if we don't have enough, we already have the 710 freeway, the MTA is building over here, so we're going to have a train coming through our city. Like, why do we need more toxins in the air? A new school with all these new parents coming in and out, teachers coming in and out. Like, it's going to be horrible. So our air quality is going to be worse. And another thing he asked was, how can people fight against it? Well, they could do like us, join. CBE is a group that fights for the environment. Our movement, you can start your own movement. There's so many groups in Southeast LA that fight against environmental injustices and any injustices. There's so many people behind our causes that they can do that. In the Inland Empire, I'm not too familiar, but I'm sure that they can do the same.
Awesome. And yeah, to that, the reason why we had this set up for Wednesday. I was having internet problems, so I was like, I really want to get this done this week because CAJ, right, Cudahy Alliance for Justice, has events that you can all go to and you can all donate to. Tell us about it. Star, tell us about it.
We have a GoFundMe going on that will help us out with our lawsuit. We're grassroots. And that was a mistake the city council made. They voted yes on the bill to KIPP because they didn't want to get sued, and they said, "Oh, these little common people got no money. They poor. They're gonna leave us alone." Oh no, we didn't. We decided. We made a commitment to our city. We have a commitment to our kids. We took the bull by the horn and we said, "Let's do this." So now we have to fundraise to pay our lawyer to move forward. So they can donate to our GoFundMe page. We have it on all of our social media, our Instagram, our Facebook. Also, we're having a pupusa fundraiser for May 4th that is also on our social media, and it's one of our community. The pupusas are made by one of our community residents, Ana. A lot of people in the community know her. I guess she's famous for selling her pupusas on Santa Ana Street on Fridays, and she's the one that agreed to help us out, to give us a hand to keep this fight going in our community.
Awesome.
I've had those pupusas. They're great.
Okay, so Hector's already vouching for the pupusa, so everybody make sure you guys go down there and get. Where is it? You said you had a fundraiser going on as well, or no, like an event, like an actual event people can go to, or.
Well, no, the pupusa sales, because of COVID, we want to make it safe for everybody, so it's pre-ordered. So Hector, I'm going to be looking for your name, and you too, Ellen.
Yeah, definitely. I'm already ordering.
There's a Google form that you can fill out. You pre-order, you prepay for it, and then you pick it up. It's you just go, it's a drive-through, just because it's safe. And then we have our GoFundMe page that's circulating. It's nonstop. We're trying to raise as much money as we can. So you guys can look us up on Facebook under either Cudahy United, because that's another group that we work with, and that just Cudahy United is for all social injustices, and then Cudahy Alliance for Justice. And then on Instagram, we also have Cudahy United. We don't have Cudahy Alliance for Justice on Instagram, but all the information is there for Cudahy United. And then all of us, you can find us. You can find me on Instagram, Queen_Tevi, TEVI, and ask me anything, and I'll give you guys information.
Awesome. And like what Hector said earlier, much kudos to you and everyone else who's involved. I know Eden, right, is part of your group as well, and Eden is a extraordinary young man who always puts his money where his mouth is, and he's always showing up And that's really what we need is for people to show up. And with that being said, Discussion Lounge only has 30 subs right now, but we got people looking at our videos, about 100 and something. So we got some videos with more than 100 views. So we're a little humble podcast, but I think we're gonna go ahead and pledge $100, 100 Discussion Lounge dollars to your GoFundMe, and we'll get the ball rolling on that and see anybody who wants to tag along, and we could make that pile start rising up so we can defeat these baddies that got the unlimited money for lawsuits and all that good stuff. So I would just want to say thank you, ladies, so much for everything that you've been doing, for setting aside your time to be on this little podcast that we have here. Hector, if you want to add anything else.
No. Well, yeah. I mean, like what Alan was saying, like I said before, you guys are amazing. What you guys are doing is amazing, and will always resonate with anyone that is living in that town. Because, like I said before, some people are still unaware of what's going on, right? So I think the more awareness that we have, in that town or specifically that the Southeast area, the better we're going to be off, because KIPP does have it right. Knowledge is power, right? So they got that part right. So let's go ahead and use that, and let's keep rolling with it. So thank you guys for being on.
Star, Tavina, Ilse, if you have anything else to add, the floor is yours.
Just thank you so much for giving us this space, and shout out to the rest of our team that's not here with us, because we are a group of 10. I think there's 10 of us, and we all work equally hard to fight this movement. So it just so happened that today you got the 3 baddies with you.
Thank you so much, Alan, for having us on. You know what? The 30 subscribers is 30 subscribers more that are hopefully will listen to us and learn a little bit more about what's going on in our area. And hopefully, once we start posting on our social media, you guys will get more subscribers. And the more we put out the word, the better it's going to be for all of us. So thank you so much for having us on this platform.
Of course. Ilse?
Thank you, y'all. Thank you so much. Just couldn't meet you all too. Let's stay in touch and connected, and it would be cool to come back and it like whenever this is over and be like, yo, this is what happened.
Yeah, I would love to get updates on anything. And yeah, if anytime you all get updates on anything you're doing, you're welcome back on this podcast. Just let me know. We'll run it again. We'll get the info out there, because that's what this podcast is about. And especially, all of us being from Cudahy and that place, having a close, a place in our hearts for sure, because that's where we all came from. Whenever there's anything going down in the city that needs to be discussed, let me know and I'll have you back on. Awesome. So that's going to be our episode today, Discussion Lounge with the Cudahy Alliance for Justice. Thank you all for tuning in, our 30 subscribers. Let's get to 31, maybe 32. Let's keep the podcast growing. Thank you for watching all of our previous stuff. And yeah, just thank you, man. Sub, like, all that good stuff. And yeah, let us know what other kind of content you want to see. This was a really great episode. Awesome content, I think, and very helpful for everyone in the community. So thank you so much. Discussion Lounge is out. Have a good day.